Is TikTok going to be banned in the US? Now, there are a few very important things that you all need to know. Number one, TikTok's lawyers have now reached the United States Supreme Court to challenge the law that bans TikTok in the US. That law was passed in April 2024, and that law says unless TikTok divests its investment in the US, right now it's owned by a Chinese company. So the law says if it becomes a US company by January 19th, then TikTok can operate. But if they can't do that before January 19th, which is a day before Donald Trump takes oath as the new president, TikTok will be banned. To challenge that law, TikTok has now gone to the Supreme Court because all the lower courts have rejected their appeal. Now, the Supreme Court has now set a date of January 10th to hear 2 hours of oral argument on the case. And then that court could decide whether that law is constitutional or not, meaning will TikTok be able to legally stay in America or operate in America under the current circumstances, or will they have to divest according to the law? So that's one option. The second option is, let's assume that the Supreme Court does not give any good news to TikTok. Then the ball is in the court of the presidency, meaning the executive branch, which is the president, has to enforce that law. Will they enforce that law of banning TikTok? Is a big question, because every time when Donald Trump has been asked about TikTok, he said he has a soft corner for TikTok because he won a lot of young voters on TikTok, and that platform has helped him a lot. He also supports free speech, so he hasn't made his position clear, but we do know that he has a soft corner for TikTok. Now, what can he do to not ban TikTok? Well, for one, he can propose a new law that repeals the previous law that bans TikTok, or he can ask his executives or the Justice Department to not pursue the law or go against the major companies like Google and Apple, which will eventually have to decide whether they want to let TikTok host their app on their platforms. So there's a web of complications over here, but the first hurdle is the Supreme Court case. If the Supreme Court gives a clear green signal to TikTok, then, and they have a green light to go on, then they will go on and continue to operate. But if the Supreme Court upholds that law that was passed by the Congress, then TikTok's only hope is either waiting for President Trump, what he does to allow this ban, or they might have to eventually divest their investment, which means that someone in the US, some company or some investors in the US will have to buy majority shares in TikTok, and they will then have to operate the company within the US for it to operate here. It's an ongoing process, and I'll continue to update you on that, so keep watching. See you next time.